Did the wrong Ferrari win the British Grand Prix? The British Grand Prix was an interesting one for Ferrari. It was a moment where they probably needed to back Leclerc in the championship and start putting preference on him. I've been saying for a while that Ferrari should be focusing all efforts on Leclerc if they want to win one, if not two, championships this year. And this was really a moment where it seemed they should. Now, Carlos Sainz had put it on pole in the wet qualifying on Saturday ahead of Verstappen and Leclerc. So from an outsider's perspective, it may seem like he should have been given the advantage over the weekend, but the fact that he isn't in contention for that championship, full drivers' championship, for the fact that Leclerc is, and this was an opportunity because Ferrari seemed faster than Red Bull and they seemed to have the advantage. And even when it came through, that Verstappen had some issues that put him on the back foot and gave an advantage to Ferrari, where they could have made up some really good points in both championships. It was a weird decision to back Sainz and not put the focus on Leclerc throughout the race. Now, we're going to jump around a bit. Speaking towards the end of the race, when they didn't pit him, Leclerc, and they did pit Sainz, the reason for this has been said that it was because Leclerc didn't have a new set of soft tyres where Sainz did, and they didn't have time to double stack them because of the safety car. But I still think they should have pit Leclerc for a fresh set of tyres. Everybody around was, and that preference should have gone to Leclerc, who would have then been in a position to retain the lead or get the lead and gain the lead before the end of the race. And as we saw, he was defending so well on those scrubbed tyres anyway. I think with a fresh set of rubber, he would have held onto the lead and won the race and gained a hell of a lot more points than Verstappen in that race. Lo and behold, he fell off the podium, which means he only gained like 7 points or 6 points or something to Verstappen in the end, which could make all the difference come the end of the season. This was kind of my point when I was saying earlier in the year that Ferrari needed to tell Sainz he wasn't vying for the championship. He was playing second fiddle. He needed to be the supporting role for Leclerc, because it was a moment like this where Sainz basically said no to the team. I'm racing my own race. And I understand from his perspective, from a very personal, he was on for his first race win, he wanted to get that race win, and that's fair enough. But this was the moment where Ferrari needed to put the gun down and be like, no, we need to back Leclerc here, we need to win the championship, and you just haven't done enough in the first, 10 races of the year. We need you to play second fiddle to Leclerc here. Just an interesting choice. Felt kind of backwards and strange. And even earlier in the race when Leclerc and Sainz were P1 and 2 and Leclerc was trying to get past Sainz, and rather than just let Leclerc by, they made him wait like 10 laps, burning up tyres that could have had an impact on the end of the race, could have changed everything at the end of the race had they have just swapped those cars earlier. It just didn't make sense from a championship perspective, when for the teams a 1-2 would have been fine with whomever was first and second, but in the drivers, this really could have made a big difference. Red Bull looked strong for the weekend. They seemed fast in qualifying and fast in the dry. Obviously, the issues that then befell Verstappen's car and the early damage taken by Perez really kind of put them on the back foot. But even so, Perez managed to race up through the grid to be in the position to challenge for second place and take second at the end of the race. So a good points haul for Red Bull. It was good for them that they had another car up there and that the damage to Perez, 1, came so early and 2, wasn't race ending, so they could optimize on Leclerc not pitting at the end in the safety car. Verstappen did still manage to get points coming back across the line 7th, and like I said, with Leclerc's fall off the podium, there was only then 3 places between them. So in the end, the loss of points for Verstappen wasn't as much as Ferrari would have probably liked it to be. It was a good, again, optimizing race for Mercedes, being there in that moment to capitalize on incidents coming from the top 2 to give them that advantage and claim another podium, this time with Lewis Hamilton. I think, honestly, the last 10 laps of this race were the best last 10 laps of any race I've seen in a very, very long time. It was exciting. If anyone doesn't think Charles Leclerc is a great racing driver who deserves to win a championship. Just watch those laps on dead tyres, the defensive driving. The driving was incredible, and it was really, and even optimizing, like, I'll let you get past here because I know on the switchback I'll have DRS and can retake the position, was just very, very good. And obviously the opportunistic moment from Hamilton coming through club to take not one but two places as Perez and Leclerc fought to take what was then second but ended up being third on the podium. It was a very good job from him indeed. Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris were kind of brought into that podium fight towards the end of the race. I don't think anyone really thought that either of them were going to take the position, but a bit like Hamilton, they were well placed that if the fighting in front of them got a bit too tasty or they kind of slowed themselves up enough, there was a chance that they could take higher positions. But it was a good 5th place for Alonso and 6th for Norris at the end, coming home ahead of the struggling for pace Verstappen. And rounding up the top 10 was Mick Schumacher, leading home Sebastian Vettel and then Kevin Magnussen for a double points finish for Haas. A good return to form from them, and great to see Vettel in the top 10 as well. I think we also have to talk about the start incident, which was terrifying to see a car roll, flip, and then bounce over the tyre barrier and into the catch fencing. Very lucky the catch fencing was there for that. Yeah, bit of a scary one, but once again, just great to see the safety features on these cars doing their job, and Zhou Guanyu getting out of the car when he could and being okay after what was probably a fairly hefty hit and also a very scary incident as well. So really good to see the Halo still doing its job. The interesting one off the back of that is George Russell, who also retired in that first corner incident, jumped out of his car and ran to Guan Yu's car to try and help him. Obviously, it's very terrifying to see a car jump a tyre barrier. But because he went so far away from his car, his Mercedes, even though it was potentially okay to get back to the pits, and obviously in the red flag he would have then had the chance to repair it, he was not allowed to restart the race. It was a bit of a talking point as to what that should be. Now, I know in other race series like the World Endurance Championship, there is this rule of if a competitor goes 100 meters away from their car, they can't then rejoin the race. That's just so that they don't go wandering around looking for tools and stuff and bring tools to the side of the track. You kind of have to use what's there and what's already in the car. I didn't necessarily know if that was the ruling for Formula One, but I guess it is. Just interesting to hear what you kind of thought of that, what your perspective was on that. Should he have been allowed to rejoin the race and use the red flag to fix the car so he could have rejoined the race? Or do you think it was the right decision that he was told he'd left the car and that he'd walked away from the car and stuff, and that he shouldn't have joined? I mean, it's human input. You know, Formula One, motorsport in general is a very passionate and emotive sport. It's kind of human nature to see your competitor, your friend, whomever, in a big crash, or even not, just someone else on the grid. You want to go and make sure they're okay, especially in an incident like this, which is so rare and kind of unforeseen, if you will. So I don't know, I'm not sure how I quite felt about it, but I'd love to hear your opinion. Next up, we have the Austrian Grand Prix, back-to-back special. So we will be back to talk about that once that race has been done. But do let me know your thoughts and feelings on the British Grand Prix. If there's anything I've missed, do also let me know about that. And we shall continue the conversation down in the coffee pot below. Do you think Ferrari made the wrong choice and backed the wrong driver and the wrong driver won? That's the question I'd really like to hear your answer to. And do you think that's going to have a big knock-on effect on the championship? Do you think Ferrari is going to keep up this trend, or do you think maybe this will be the lesson learned moment where they start backing Leclerc and finally tell Sainz it's not his championship to win? Do let me know down in the coffee pot below, and I will see you down there. But for now, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been an absolute blast as always. If you enjoyed this video, go show that like button some good old-fashioned love. And if you want to support the channel, go hit subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss next time I upload a video. Stay awesome, and I will see you all in the next video! It's so echoey in here, hence the, I hope this has helped and that you can actually hear me and it doesn't just sound like everything's reverberating.